So ain't this a bitch?
Yeah. Yep.
Ain't this a bitch?
Yep.
America's heroes who fought in our wars, outside sweating their asses off, with oxygen, battling all kinds of ailments, while these motherfuckers sit in the air conditioning, walled off from any of it. They don't have to hear it. They don't have to see it. They don't have to understand that these are human beings. Do you get it yet? Do we see that these aren't heroes? These are men and women, mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers that we just let stand outside in the heat when they can't breathe. I'm going to read you something. This is beautiful. I'm going to read you something beautiful. You know what? I said a curse word, and I'm sorry about that. That was my fault. Let me say something beautiful. This is a tweet from Senator Rick Scott of Florida from yesterday. It's beautiful. And I'm sorry about the cursing, and let me say something beautiful to make it up to you. I was honored to join the USO today and make care packages for our brave military members in gratitude of their sacrifice and service to our nation. And there's a beautiful picture. I wish you could see it. He's standing with a little package. Did you get the package? I think it has M&Ms in it and some cookies.
Didn't get it.
And some moist towelettes. I don't even know, honestly, I don't even know what to say. I've been coming down here 10, 15 years. I'm used to the hypocrisy. Christina Keene will tell you from VFW. She sat in an office with Mitch McConnell and a war veteran from Kentucky, and he looked that man in the eyes and he said, we'll get it done. And he lied to him. Because Mitch McConnell yesterday flipped. I'm used to the lies. I'm used to the hypocrisy. Senator Pat Toomey won't take a meeting with the veterans groups. Sends out his chief of staff. I'm used to the cowardice. I've been here a long time. Senate's where accountability goes to die. These people don't care. They're never losing their jobs. They're never losing their health care. Pat Toomey didn't lose his job. He's walking away. God knows what kind of pot of gold he's stepping into to lobby this government to shit on more people. I'm used to all of it, but I am not used to the cruelty. They passed it. June 16th, they passed the PACT Act. 84-14. You don't even see those scores in the Senate anymore. They passed it. Every one of these individuals that has been fighting for years, standing on the shoulders of Vietnam veterans who have been fighting for years, standing on the shoulders of Persian Gulf War veterans fighting for years, Desert Storm veterans, to just get the health care and benefits that they earned from their service. And I don't care if they were fighting for our freedom. I don't care if they were fighting for the flag. I don't care if they were fighting because they wanted to get out of a drug treatment center or it was jail or the army. I don't give a shit. They lived up to their oath. And yesterday, they spit on it in abject cruelty. These people thought they could finally breathe. You think their struggles end because the PACT Act passes? All it means is they don't have to decide between their cancer drugs and their house. Their struggle continues.
This bill does a lot more than just give us health care.
Gives them health care, gives them benefits, lets them live.
Keeps veterans from going homeless, keeps veterans from becoming addicts, keeps veterans from committing suicide.
Senator Toomey's not going to hear that because he won't sit down with this man. Because he is a fucking coward. You hear me? A coward. Boy, they haven't met a war they won't sign up for, and they haven't met a veteran they won't screw over. What the fuck are we?
Okay, so here's the deal. The PACT Act would allocate additional funding for more than 3 million American veterans who were exposed to toxic burn pits and other toxins while fighting overseas. This bill had first passed the House back in March, and then it passed the Senate 84-14 in June. Now, the Senate had added a tax provision, and any bills with tax provisions have to originate in the House, so that bill went back to the House in July and passed the House 342-88. Great, it'll go to the Senate and pass no problem, right? Well, when the Senate had to take this bill back up, they decided not to pass it. Why? Well, here's the excuse Republican Senator Pat Toomey makes, that the bill includes a $400 billion slush fund that could be spent on other domestic programs. But two things. First, if that money were to be allocated elsewhere, it wouldn't be some secret, it would be Congress itself that decides where it's allocated. So these Republicans are pretending like they'll have no control where the money ends up, when it is quite literally Congress itself that allocates that funding. And second, more importantly, let's be honest here, that funding isn't getting allocated anywhere but the veterans for whom it was meant. Do you really think that Congress is gonna raid a fund intended for veterans? Give me a break. In other words, these Republicans have found the single most absurd excuse to balk at this bill that they could possibly cook up. In reality, here's the real reason that they voted against this bill, and I'll try to keep this as simple as possible. Democrats wanted to get the CHIPS bill passed, which would allocate funding for the domestic semiconductor industry and help us compete with China, where these chips are currently made. Republicans basically said, we'll get on board with CHIPS so long as you don't pass a reconciliation package. Democrats were like, sure, whatever, reconciliation has been such a disaster for the last year anyway, so it wasn't a big deal. So Democrats put CHIPS onto the Senate floor, and it passed. Then, immediately after that bill passed, Joe Manchin released a statement about a reconciliation package agreed to by him and Chuck Schumer. The bill would, among other things, lower healthcare costs and combat climate change. Republicans were so pissed off that Democrats basically out-McConnelled McConnell that they decided to retaliate against Democrats by voting against the next bill up, which just so happened to be the PACT Act. Again, this was a bill that had already passed the Senate with 84 votes. But now, because Republicans felt butthurt, they decided to take their ball and go home by denying American veterans extended health care benefits, because that'll show the Democrats. In other words, these Republicans decided to take their partisan gripes against Democrats out on our own veterans. These are people who are dying of cancer, people who can't afford treatment, people who are spending their last days on Earth pleading with the VA to cover healthcare expenses for illnesses contracted in wars that these same senators supported. In other words, these Republicans are happy to send these people overseas and allocate billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars to fund those efforts and that war machine, but then allocate just a drop in the bucket so that these people can get some measly healthcare once they're back home in the United States. Republicans are like, nope, fuck those people. We'd rather use those vets as pawns to express our dissatisfaction with the Democrats. Cue the national anthem. And what's crazy too is that this is in retaliation for a reconciliation bill that'll lower healthcare costs for Americans and combat climate change. That's what they're so angry about. That Americans might just have to pay a little bit less than they paid before for healthcare. That's what triggered this constitutional crisis on the right. Because God forbid we aren't completely raked over the coals by a pharmaceutical executive every minute of the day. So the next time you hear any Republican air the usual bullshit about patriotism or how much they love our troops, remind them about that time that they decided to hand down a literal death sentence for our own veterans because they wanted to score a political win. These people don't care about the troops any more than they care about the Constitution or states' rights or family values or any other platitude they've hidden behind for the last half century. They will sacrifice anything and anyone so long as it means they can score a political win, no matter how cheap it actually is. Before you go, couple things. First, if you want to support my work, the best way is to subscribe to this channel. The subscribe button is right here on the screen. And second, if you want to see and hear more from me, check out my website, briantylercohen.com. That way you can get links to my podcast, merchandise, ways to donate to voting rights organizations, and so much more. The thumbnail is also right here on the screen, so go check it out. And as always, thank you so much for watching.